How are you again, my dear unificationists? Did you miss me? It's been a while since the last time. I hope you continue well in God's name. Now, we will continue with the second part of the message, which is more important, more urgent, and more extensive than the previous one. But as always, before we start, don't forget the 7 conditions I mentioned in the introductory video from the previous workshop, the final showdown between Satan and God, with more emphasis on the last 2 conditions, 6 and 7. Please, below is a link. The title of the previous presentation was The Final Showdown Between Satan and God, which exposed God's plan to establish his kingdom and also Satan's plan to establish his kingdom from 1905 to 2040. You don't have to see that presentation or workshop to see this one, but it would be better. And for those who want the scripture of that presentation, the link to the Word file is below the introductory video. Before starting with the introduction of this workshop, I want to add an 8th condition that is very important that you keep it in mind. 8th, throughout history, God has spoken to us using signs, symbols, parables, metaphors, proverbs, quotes, etc. On the other hand, He too has spoken to us directly and plainly, especially when He wants to give us rules of behavior. But also He has blessed us with the interpretation of those parables or metaphorical language. The reason He has done it this way is that since the origin of human conflict there has been a confrontation between Him and Satan, and He is not going to show His plan of salvation so easily to His enemy. For example, in the Old Testament, in the book of Psalm, chapter 49, verse 4, King James Version, it says, "I will incline mine ear to a parable, I will open my dark saying upon the harp." And in the same book, chapter 78, verse 2, King James Version again, it says, "I will open my mouth in a parable, I will utter dark sayings of old." And in the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 6, King James Version again, it says, "To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings." And this was fulfilled with Jesus Christ. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 34 to 35, King James Version again, it says, "All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world." And Jesus Christ also explained the purpose of his speaking in parables. In the same Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verses 10 to 17, King James Version, it says, "And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from he shall be taken away, even that he had. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which said, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is wax gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and shall understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them." Isaiah 6, 9 to 10. And continue. "But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I said unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them." In other words, it is so that the enemy of God does not understand his plan of salvation. But since Jesus Christ could not establish God's kingdom when he was on earth, heaven didn't allow all of his parables or the Bible to be interpreted, but he promised us that in the future it would be achieved. In the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verses 12 to 13, King James Version again, it says, I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. And in the same Gospel, same chapter, verse 25, King James Version again, these things, it says, these things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time cometh, when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. Unlike all unifications, we know that it is a divine principle that fulfilled this promise of analyzing the Bible clearly and systematically. But on the other hand, there are these species of true Father that are also full of riddles, puzzles, metaphors, parables, etc. And therefore, they should also be interpreted clearly and systematically. True Father, open quote. This time, the 777 couples victorious affair was established up to here, pointing to blackboard diagram. I want to explain the means by which I have given my sermons. I can teach you directly for the first time due to the standard of victory that the Unification Church has achieved. Otherwise, Satan, who is 100 or even 1,000 times more clever than you, will take the words away from you. In that case, God's restoration course will be completely blocked. If Satan took away the things that the children of God should do and accomplish the things that those children should accomplish, God's pain would be double. This is what I have to speak in quotes and parables, teaching you with certain displays and signs. As you make a relationship with me as a true loving child, you can come to understand the meaning of my metaphors. You can find this in the Blessing, volume 66. True Father, like Jesus Christ, spoke to us in metaphors to prevent God's enemy from understanding and stealing ideas designed for the salvation of humanity. And that is why True Father also invited us to be tireless seekers of truth, so that heaven will reveal to us the key to how to interpret his words. True Father, open quote, to you who are standing at the threshold of the course of the establishment of the third Israel, what do you have to do? You can succeed only if you know the laws of the spiritual world. You need knowledge of the communication system. The military corps will not be attacked by the Allied force during a battle if it knows the codes of the Allied force. It is a time when you can hear the codes of heaven. Now is the age of communication through codes. This is an age where the communications will be done through providential codes, historical codes, time codes, moreover, human codes, and missionary codes. This is the age where you can communicate with these codes, accomplish the plans of operation, and finally become a representative of the unification ideology, philosophy on the earth. Close quote. You can find this in the book The Way to Guide People, chapter 6. If we manage to decipher the codes immersed in True Father's words, the Bible, or other kinds of prophecies, we will survive any kind of test, and we will be the ones chosen to build God's kingdom. True Father, open quote, Reverend Moon has been a person of riddles and puzzles to the world. He is always teaching people, and in teaching he talks about mysterious things, and it seems different from what other people teach you. In the audience, if you are intoxicated by his speech, you just forget about even using the bathroom. Close quote. You can find this in the speech to the Los Angeles family, March 24th, 1975, Los Angeles, California, translated by Wonpok Che. With this True Father quote, it is clear that his words are full of riddles and puzzles, and that our responsibility is to decipher them. True Father, open quote, if I have published all my speeches, it would have been more than 3,600 books, which contain complicated contents of my course of years. You don't know how it is possible. I was born with the benefit of being able to listen to Cheldo absolute sound from God through my conversations with Him. Close quote. You can find this in the speech, I was born being able to listen to absolute sound, January 8, 2012. With this quote of True Father, we can realize the reason why he talked to us in that way, with quotes, metaphors, and riddles, because he simply was born with the gift of listening to God's voice 100%, and for us to achieve it, we must learn to interpret his words and apply it in our lives, the true meaning of them, and so we can live all together in the kingdom of heaven. True Father, open quote, you must clearly and systematically understand the truth. Close quote. And in the same speech he said, when we clearly know the truth, recreation is possible. Close quote. You can find this on God's Day 2003. True Father again, open quote, in the future when my teaching will have been more extensively and carefully analyzed and systematized and been kept in written form, you will be able to experience the substantial truth and therefore live in a wonderful, immeasurably precious and golden age. Close quote. You can find this in God's Will and the Word, chapter 25, May 1st, 1977, Japanese version. True Father again, when people who communicate with the spirit world kneel down to me, and when others who do not communicate with it but are willing to die whenever they are asked kneel down to me, then we can accomplish God's providence on earth and start building the kingdom of heaven here. Do you follow me? Yes. Then, will you have anything more to do? You will be surprised when I reveal my thoughts. I may explain to you why I did such and how such and such became reality. I'm not kidding, neither am I trying to cheat you. You can wait and see what happened. Some people may wonder how they could have been so stupid. I have said to you before that the day would come when one would come with me and the other will be left behind. It will surely happen to the Unification Church members. You can find this in the book or in the volume, The Completed Testament Age and the Ideal Kingdom, Book 2, Chapter 3, Part 1, Section 1, 1.2. With these quotes from True Father, we can conclude that the members who thirst for the truth and strive to decipher his words will be chosen for the construction of God's kingdom, and those who don't would be left behind. Kyok Am Yurok. Quote, when the message gets to those unwanted ones, they will cause problems for the Messiah because no human beings want to be defeated. Thus it becomes difficult for the Messiah to appear. These messages are meant for those who understand the principles of I Ching and can decipher them. For this reason, heads and tails are hidden in all prophecies, and the sequence of this course is not orderly and consistent. It is designed to be understood by those who have wisdom. Do not disclose it to those who do not have wisdom. If they know, they will only create more troubles. And you can find this in the same volume, The Completed Testament Age and the Ideal Kingdom, Book 6, Chapter 6, Interpreter Samuel Koo. True Father, open quote, can you name one American who likes to be defeated, or who will quietly sit back when he is outdone by other people? No, any American will come out and claim his right. Close quote. You can find this in the speech, Restoration from the Region and Rebirth, Art for Myself, September 20, 1992, Belvedere, New York, translator San Kilham. True Father again, open quote, which would you like better, a person who does not express joy at the coming of a new age, or a person who likes the coming of a new age? We rejoice at the coming of a new age. The audience answer. The person who can rejoice at the coming of a new age will never shirk his collective responsibility. If things changed 10 times, he would be there in his place all 10 times. You can find this in the speech, Happy God's Day, morning speech, January 1st, 2007, Chongjong Palace. These quotes relate a lot to the sixth condition that I mentioned in the previous workshop. That is why my recommendation is that we do not share this message with those who are not humble, not joyful, or not positive. Also a tip not to feel envy or jealousy of the person with whom God is working. And it is that we all have the same level of talent and mission of the Messiah, but we cannot discover them due to sin and fallen nature. Rather, let us detest those evil aspects, because it is what really prevents us from discovering our original selves. As you know, my name is Juan Pablo Nazar, and I'm very happy to be with you again. The title of this presentation is "But God Will Say Yes, They Are Two Different Cards." True Father, open quote, no match for God's trump card. As soon as he sees God's super trump cards, Satan will say, oh no, those aren't the right kinds of cards. You are trying to play a different gamer, but God will say yes, they are two different cards. My cards are the cards that will save the world. But your cards are selfish cards. You worry only about your own well-being at the sacrifice of others. And for the first time, Satan will come to realize that there is no match between him and God, because their cards are entirely different. However, Satan has to admit that he is one of the beings created by God, and he is the one who has fallen. God will say, "Who are you after all?" Close quote. You can find this in the speech from April 7, 1985, excerpts, World Mission Center, New York, translated Dr. Bohi Park. This message is divided into two parts. The first part is to identify who these two cards are, and the second part will mention all the events that will occur from 2022 to 2040, with much more detail than the previous workshop, and with the specific roles of these two cards, the true family and all the members of the unification movement. Introduction. The first lecture will be on the last Messiah, and we are going to answer questions like is True Father the last Messiah? If not, who is the last? Will he be a descendant of True Father? Let's find out. Is True Father the last Messiah? True Father, open quote, the man who has this important mission should be greater than Adam, and should accomplish the standard in place of Jesus. The woman who is related to this man should go beyond Eve and be accepted as the new spouse of Jesus. The mission of the Unification Church is to give birth to such a man and such a woman. Close quote. And you can find this in God's Will in the World, chapter 1, the introduction of that chapter. Let's continue. When True Father mentioned about Jesus and his wife, surely everyone assumed that he was talking about himself and True Mother. But the Unification Church was founded by True Father. He gave birth to the Unification Church. Therefore, the Unification Church cannot give birth to True Father and True Mother. So it becomes clear that True Father was talking about a new couple of Messiah. Will he be a descendant of True Father? Let's find out. True Father, open quote, a grandfather will become a grandchild, and a father will become a son. It is as when somebody becomes a king, his grandparents and parents have to serve him. Messiah means kinship, right? Close quote. You can find this in the volume The Completed Testament Age and the Del Kingdom, Book 3, Chapter 4, Part 1. True Father is grandfather, his son is father, and his grandson is the next Messiah and King of Kings. We can stop here, and then we continue in the next video.